Hi, my name is Simone and I'm the Zoom Mommy. How are you guys doing today? Today I'm gonna do a little vlog about my personal life. And as this journey awakening to consciousness as the creator gods that we are, I'm gonna share something that me and my husband's been going through and how we have dealt with it from a creator God perspective, dealing with our souls being in the human aspect. And it's been a tough situation, and it's funny that I did a video recently on dense earth programming, where a subscriber wrote a letter saying that this earth programming was like really kicking their butt, and that that it felt like things were working against them. So if you haven't listened to that video, I'm gonna link it above because you gotta watch it, okay? In that video, I mentioned a few situations. Well, some of those situations are situations that my husband and I have been going through. So let's start at the beginning, so story time, okay? So the end of February, okay, so mind you, let me set the tone of what's going on in this scenario. Okay, most of you all know I've announced my pregnancy. I'm having a baby, okay? I am 30 weeks pregnant according to a late scan, so we don't know the exact date. We just know in June this baby is coming, the month after next, okay? So we've been planning, for this baby and everything. And okay, so that being said, I just wanted y'all to know the mind frame that I'm in when this situation hits me, okay? So my husband have been having a hard time at work. Since we moved to a new location. This looks kind of creepy, hold on. Oops. Okay, so we moved to a new location. There we go. So we moved to a new location. And I'm sorry, I should have did all this before I did it. We moved to a location. So we live in California, and we moved out of state, okay? And we moved to one of the southern states. I've been afraid to mention it yet, where we moved to, because part of this move, we wanted to have a little more secrecy in our life. Not secrecy. We didn't want everybody to know, where we were, right? But I'm pretty sure you can guess it's one of the states that most people ran to after COVID, okay? And so it's a southern state, so I have to mention that because there's a different type of energy here. And so since we got here, his job has been treating him differently, bad, for a lot of reasons. So he would come home and he would tell me, they did this, they're treating me like this. Okay, so me, a long time ago I used to work for a lawyer. So I'm well versed in when I know something is illegal, okay? And plus I've had to fight, I've done several law cases that I had to fight myself that I ended up winning. And I know, the steps you need to take when something's serious. So I'm like, so you need to report what they're doing, So he was experiencing discrimination. He was experiencing racism. He was experiencing harassment, okay, from management, different of the managers. And, age discrimination, because he's younger than everyone there, or younger than a lot of people there. And then there's this discrimination. Everybody here don't like people from California, They think we're spoiled. This whole situation made me realize something about that too. And see, out here, the people, it's slow. Okay, it's just like slow. So my husband worked with a very strong union. And California, and the union got everything done, every complaint. The managers were afraid to upset the employees, and they thought twice about messing with them or trying to fire them, right? And he was, he and my husband was well respected. He'd been at his company for 5 years. And so he come out here and they treat him like, number one, they treat him like a new hire. And the union is not even a strong union, The union is weak. And they didn't understand half the concepts. And my husband would be like, do you understand? You guys should be getting more money. So one of the things that happened is when you transferred, they made him dock his pay for a year, right? So we've had to deal with that. And they took away a week, some of his vacation. So we had to deal with that. And so everybody out here is working like on a crappy pay. Like the pay in these areas is bad. The rent and stuff is starting to get as high as California. And people are still not getting paid. And so he's just like, he's telling all the guys that, do you guys know y'all can fight for this? You guys don't have to, and all of these program NPC employees, they're like, y'all Californians are spoiled. Just do your work and do what you're supposed to do. That's the whole attitude everyone had. If you had a complaint, do your work, do what you're supposed to do. And so I began to take notes, and my husband's like, no, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to go make a report and cause problems at work. I said, fine. I still took the notes of the dates and the times every time he complained to me. So it came a point where, he did start getting people to talk to the union about this raise, and they ended up starting to fight for the raise, and ended up in there, and I believe they were getting it approved, but it hasn't kicked in. It's like this summer or July or something. And so for some reason, his managers had it out for him. And I don't know if it had anything to do with that, right? But it's all suspect. And I just feel like this camera is not in a good position. Hold on. I don't like my head being cut off. Anyways, it's all suspect, right? So comes along December, and I'm gonna try to go a little faster here. And last December, they gave him multiple issues, right? Number one, I'm pregnant. He was trying to request for FMLA, and they didn't want to give him the paperwork. And they're like, no, you don't qualify. And, just look at, and just looking at him like, you don't qualify. And he was like, yes, I do. I've been in the company for 5 years. And he had to debate them to get this paper. And then after that, they didn't pay him for none of the holiday days. Okay, because he took a day off that week, and they're like, well, the week before Christmas, they didn't pay him for the Christmas holiday pay, right? But the next week they were supposed to pay, and they just didn't pay him for that day either. And for the holiday pay, and didn't say anything about it. Then, next couple weeks later, it was January, right? He takes a day off, calls in a personal sick day. And the lady in the office is like, they say yes, approved, whatever. He gets to work the next day, and they say they didn't approve it. Because the lady in the office says, oh, there was a man in the yard that looked just like him. And we saw him come into the office, and, so basically she saw a man in the parlor just like him. She took away the sick day. So here it is. They kept messing with his paycheck. And, and he wouldn't know until it was time to get paid that he didn't get those days. So he complained about that. And they were like, well, they said they were going to fix it. They never did fix it, right? So February comes around. And there's this incident that happens where this guy is sick and needs to leave, and they're asking my husband, they forced my husband to do this guy's shift on top of his own, which would take him well over what's that, overtime. And he was a driver, he was driving at night, and he told his manager no, and his manager said they had to do it. He said that he would be fatigued and he would need a break before drive, once he, at a certain point in the middle of the night. And the supervisor was like, okay, or whatever. And next thing you know, he went and he got too fatigued to drive, so he had to pull over and stop for a while. Then he gets back to work when he's finally feeling safe after drinking coffee and stuff to drive. And then the next morning, they come tell him he's still in time. And with all the proof he had that he told the manager he did this, and they didn't care. And I told him, I said, I'm telling my husband, I said, they're after you, I said, you should have been reporting these incidents, and you need to report them now. And so he reported, he just said, I feel like, we finally wrote a letter to HR. I feel like, there's some kind of harassment going on, and there's some retaliation, and you don't know why, and how can HR help the matter? So, okay, so I told all the details of this situation, right? It ended up talking to HR, and HR basically taking the company side, and the manager got upset because of the complaints about him and fired my husband. And, it's clearly illegal, right? Anybody in any other state, especially California, can see how illegal that this is. Clearly illegal. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, as soon as you make this complaint, you get fired. And this manager has, figured out, had even lied and said that he was basically like almost stole 4 hours of time during the time he was driving. And so he had been off for a couple of months. And during this time, we called lawyer after lawyer. I listened to these lawyers on social media. And each lawyer wanted these outrageous fees. And then there would be a lot of lawyers who'd be like, we're a contingency lawyer, because if you're illegally fired, technically they're not supposed to get money until you get money, right? And so we called a few of those, and they rejected us. And so I started to see, and I don't even know if all the other story was even necessary, but I started to see that, okay, something is wrong. We're in resistance, because I said it must not be. I felt like this was so wrong. And I felt like we need to fight this, that they can't get away. And let alone, we were watching this man get away with what he did. So my husband called the bar association, and they basically said that, in this state, it's an at-will state, they can fire you if you want to, and all this stuff. You can try to fight it. Then I began to look up all the cases. I don't think I've seen any discrimination cases that actually won, maybe a couple. I started looking up similar type cases. A lot of those cases where I couldn't even find, because not many of them would even go to court. And I started to see that this area is corrupt. This state is corrupt. I know this whole reality is corrupt. And I started to get bitter about moving. Like, we made this big move, we got this nice house, we thought, life and everything would be better, than in California. And I started to get real negative, about it. And I'm also worrying, I have nothing for our baby and my husband. He's been the sole provider of income. I make a little money here and there with YouTube or my channel, but I haven't been able to do a lot lately since this pregnancy. I had a lot of symptoms, I was sick a lot, and I pretty much have been like a stay-at-home wife, homeschooling my child, and working on, trying to do this business thing, but I don't have the energy to run it fully yet. And so I'm sitting here we started questioning, why is the universe doing this to us? We're sitting here, we know that they're wrong. We know that it's outright, wrong. And why are we experiencing this? Why can't even, and so the bar said you can probably get something back if you go to EEOC and file discrimination. And why when he tries to file EEOC, they're booked for years, no appointments available. So he can't even get into it. It was just we were the system is rigged. And my husband was mad because he put 5 years into this company. He was pretty much had a retirement at the end of next year. He was about to get a raise, and everything just came like. And we had to start thinking. I said, okay, we got to start thinking from a Creator God perspective. Like, part of me saw so much injustice, and I wanted to do like those people on social media. They take an issue to the public, it goes viral, and the company gets already garbage can is passing by. The company gets so much attention that they have to come back, and they have to respond. They have to apologize because they don't want the bad publicity. And I started thinking, this is what we need to do. And then I started to realize, no, that's not the way to go. It's too much resistance there. I'm a Creator God. We can shift this situation. You know, this is not. It has to be another way that we can do this without getting like our energy involved in this 3D reality, in this human matrix type reality. And so I started to think like that. And we started to meditate, and we started to do some rituals, you know, light some candles and stuff, and to try to manifest the outcome, you know, that we want. And so we let go of the resistance. We gave up. We were blocked every time. I hope this garbage can isn't bothering you. Hold on, I'm just gonna close the window. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. It was getting hot anyway. Okay, unfortunately, I was losing my train of thought. Okay, so let me run back. So I was thinking, okay, so we decided to let go of all resistance, right? We kept hitting, when something is going on in your life, and you keep hitting dead ends, you have to let go. There's nothing else you can do. So at that point, I was like, okay, right? So I had this bitterness about the state. My husband's like, we're moving, forget it. Pick a state, pick a place, we're leaving. And I was just like, I want to move, but I also realized, you know, I said, honey, if we move in this energy, we're just going to move to another city, state or city that it's going to be the same kind of experience. We have to make it work, you know. We have to know that we're in a good vibration, a good frequency. We're creating our reality so that the next place we go, we won't have the same kind of energy going on, because that's like, it's a frequency, right? And so I didn't want to rush to that. And the other thing I was going through is I was trying to make friends out here, like trying to meet people with kids. My son's been lonely, and, you know, we left our homeschool group out there. And, you know, I tried to make a friend, and I had somebody close here, and she had some situations going on, and I ain't gonna even get into it, but it turned really bad, okay, to the point where, you know, there was no kids left there to play with for my son, and it definitely wasn't an energetic match. I just was kind of at a phase of desperation of trying to find a parent with kids. And so I started to realize, I just was like, nothing is working out here. I can't make friends for my son. I can't make friends for myself. You know, I'm having a hard time. You know, the people are racist. They're acting discriminate. It was so many things that I didn't like about this place. And I began to focus on it too much. And the more I focused on it, the more we were experiencing like this resistance, this negativity around us. And at a point, we gave up. We gave up on the lawyers. We gave up on that. And my husband's like, I've just looked for a new job somewhere else. And so he let go. He looked for a new job. And I let go. I started looking for homeschool groups. And in the next few days, his union was still fighting the case on their end, right? But the union, the guy, they had one meeting where his old manager offered the job back. But he said, you can have the job back, but no back pay, and you can't file a grievance on me. And the letter said really nasty things. It said like, you know, basically telling him, it was like, you stole company time and you messed up, and we'll give you your job back. But we will not have any mercy on you if you do one thing wrong. The letter said something like that. And my husband looked at the letter and said, no, I'm not accepting a job like that. And he said, I want my right to file a grievance, and I want my right for back pay. And the guy was like, the manager's like really upset at this point. And even the union guy was like, what are you doing? You could have had your job back. You had 5 years in the company. And they were saying the supervisor that you talked to is not even backing you up anymore. He's not even saying that you told him you would need a break and you were fatigued and all that. And my husband was really feeling like everything was against him. And I was just like, we felt like, and I was thinking, oh my God, I'm about to have this baby. Mind you, we just moved into this house that costs a lot. And I started seeing timeline of us on the streets homeless and me holding a baby or me giving birth outside. And I was just like, oh, and I couldn't let the fear get the best of me. And the whole time I was just like, no, we're going to be okay. Because you know what? We're creating a reality. We're not going to put ourselves on the streets. That's just not going to happen. And I had to really believe and shift from when my thoughts started to go there. Like the fears and stuff. And I was just like, I know everything's going to be okay. We manifested, the help we needed for, the help we needed during the time. He ended up getting unemployment. My brother helped. And we just got to this point where we're going to give up and we're going to have faith. We're going to trust that everything was going to work out because everything always works out for us. We're two gods. When two gods get together, when multiple gods get together and manifest, it's the strongest ever. And so he gave up. We gave up. We ended up getting to the point we gave up on getting back pay because we gave up on the union. The union, of course, had to go a next round of to get a vote, right? But at this point, things were looking grim because the manager had the Texas law with him. He had some technical laws that he was using that was protecting, him. And it was like, okay. So my husband was like, forget it, I'll give up on the back pay. We'll make this work. So my husband was going to take a job that was going to take him away for a long time. And I was just like, but what if I go into labor while you're on the road? But he was just like, I have to do this because, we have a baby coming, we need the money. And so we gave up on the idea of winning this. We gave up on, and he just looked elsewhere to the point where he looked, and I'm telling you this because this is the resistance that stops us from creating the desire we want, manifesting. And he gave up. And, I gave up on having friends. And I started looking seriously for a homeschool group, okay? And then the union meeting comes. And when the meeting comes, which happened like a week or so ago, right? A little over a week ago, the union makes a statement saying, they call, my husband comes home. He's like, the union called me about their ruling. He said, they gave me back the job. They gave me back all the back pay for the last few months they had me off. And they said that I was in the right. And he said the reason why I didn't take the job then, because I couldn't let them get away with it. I'd rather leave and get a new job because that's not how you treat people. And they said that all of the management was in wrong because the complaints were over, his HR thing was multiple managers. And they basically act like it was nothing. And finally, after 2 months of stress and struggle in this situation, wondering what was going to be the outcome, wondering if I was going to have baby diapers and baby bottles and baby cribs and all that stuff, he got his answer. And what happened? It happened the moment we let go of resistance. The moment we were like, okay, we're going to figure out, we're going to be okay. We're gods. We're going to create. If this is not going to work this way, we're going to create this way. As soon as we let the pressure off and stop thinking about it, that way came through, right? And then the next day, I found some homeschool groups in my area, met up with some great parents that had kids my Storm's age, and immediately my reality was shifted. I was able to talk to people. I may not find like people who are on this path like I am, but just finding people who are, just conscious enough to homeschool and stuff. And to, and to have a more natural living life, That's all I need, for my kids to connect with and have, conversations about, basic things, mom things or whatever. And so that's how quickly a shift can come when we're going through these dense earth programs. It could take a while. Like I said, it's been a couple of months. And I had to have faith. There'll be days I wake up a little stressed because, I'm pregnant, I'm emotional and all of that stuff. And I'll wake up and I'm thinking, what are we going to do? How am I going to have a home birth if I don't have the equipment? And then another thing is like the benefits was cut off. It's like I can't go to the hospital even if I wanted to. And it was just like, this is what I was talking about, those entities that, I refer to them as black hats, a term I coined from, my mentor. She said there was these entities that, they're here to keep the frequency low. They want to keep, they don't want 3D and 4D to go past 4D. Although on our personal journeys, we're going past that. But they, in general, when we get high, they try to do things in our lives to kind of shake us up. And we have to remain the guys that we are and know that everything's going to be okay. And I was so happy. And, my husband came home and he said, don't ever give up on what we are, Simone. He was like, don't ever. He was so happy, jumping up. And so I had to share that with you guys because I've been meaning to talk about this. I was going to talk about it before the results, but the results have came in and everything's good. Things will continue to happen in our lives, but sometimes we have to deal and okay. And the other thing, and I'll say this real quickly, that I have been dealing with is the feeling of not wanting to be in this state that we moved in, the feeling of wanting to move, the feeling of realizing everybody had this country, this southern type of mindset, and that there was a lot of people who were kind of racist, and there's a lot of people who just thought differently and acted differently, and there's a lot of scammers out here. And it's just and then I was hearing all this news about trafficking all the time, and a lot of bad things was happening, And what happens is I started getting upset and involved with the wrong things in this reality. I started being influenced a lot by social media and other people, other people around, and I started having this whole negative outlook here. And that's putting me into my human perspective, okay? And I have to still believe that I'm the creator of my reality and I can shift this, Whatever we tend to focus on, that's what we tend to see around us, There is good and bad in everything. And if you focus on all the bad, that's going to continue to keep manifesting. People getting kidnapped, people I need to stay off Nextdoor app. Sometimes I read to see what's going on in the community. But there's a lot of complaints about kids being kidnapped, from there's this thing called Adventure Park. It's kind of like a playroom where kids can go and have parties and stuff like that. And they were announcing that some kids got snatched. And I was like, what the heck? And then people was announcing that people were breaking into houses and robbing people and putting fentanyl or morphine or some type of drug on door handles. You just start hearing this, and I start thinking, this is a really dark place, And the more you hear it, and you subconsciously be like, oh God, this is scary. This is not cool. And even when you get mad, God, how could they traffic kids? How could they do something like that? And even thinking you want to fight it or thinking you want to protest it. All that energy is just getting involved with the timeline. See, there's always a way, like how I was talking about, I want to go to social media and I want to make my case and tell the world. Yeah, that's one way to do it, but the better way to do it is to go within, be God, and manifest the right timeline. Because putting all that energy into that, it puts you directly into the game of that timeline. You're playing with them, okay? That stuff gonna lower your vibration and it keeps you there. And that's when I know, as tempting as it was, I let that go, And so what I'm doing here is now I have to shift that, okay? I got to see the beauty in where I live, you know, the positive things. And the more I see that, the less I'll see people complaining. The less it'll start popping up in reality. The less I'll see news feeds showing me the bad things in my area. The less I'll see it online, you know. It's just we really have to choose what our energy is going to match. And long as we have some type of subconscious fear or resistance or anger or bitterness about something, that resistance puts you in a certain frequency where you'll just see more of it. You have to learn to get your vibration to a certain level of frequency where, you know, you're good, you're content, okay? We are God's having a human experience. But in this human experience, we have to learn how to manifest properly. We have to learn how to do frequency matching to the timelines we want to see. So yeah, there's a lot of bad timelines here, right? But I still believe other more positive timelines exist. As like I said, as soon as that shifted, I found a really good homeschool group. Who knows what's next, right? I found a yoga studio that I'm going to be going to, be doing some prenatal yoga. So that's another thing. I'm getting connected to another community, you know? And so even if we do eventually move, we want to make sure we're in the right energy before we move. It's kind of like when you get out of a toxic relationship, a bad relationship, and you know those women that be like, I don't know why I keep meeting bad men, I keep meeting toxic men, I keep meeting cheaters, I keep meeting narcissists. Because soon as they get out of that relationship, they're in the same frequency. So they attract the same type of guy, maybe a little bit better because they realize enough to leave that one. But they attract the same type of guy and they wonder what's wrong with them. Am I a magnet for bad guys? No. Yes and no. You are being a magnet for bad guys because your frequency hasn't changed. You have to come out of that experience and raise your frequency. You have to look at that and learn from it. Understand that this man that you attracted was because of your lack of self-love, because your lack of boundaries, your lack of respect for yourself, you know? And once you begin to work on that, work on this love and stuff, then you can get your frequency to the level where you can just manifest your true love, you know? And so that's where I'm at right now is we got through that situation and I know there'll be more to come, right? But that situation, that win was a good reminder, like, yes, we got this, you know. I don't know why I was worried, you know. And to get me wrong, I wasn't super stressed. I was actually okay. I actually stayed like, I know, because I know who I am. You know what I'm saying? We know who we are. And even my husband, I know he would feel the brunt of the stress, feeling like he is the provider of the family. He even did his best, and he did keep a good attitude about it. And, you know, the best thing we did was come together in this meditation room, and we would meditate, we would connect, we would talk, we would do rituals, we would do ceremonies, we would listen to music together, anything to raise your frequency and to help you to be confident in who you are as a God and that you really create your reality. I'm Zim Mommy. Thank you for joining me today. And join my email list. If you are new to my channel, I have an email list for the channel and it'll be in the description. I have a spiritual community for creator gods who want to share their experience with other gods. I have 7 members right now and it's on my website, sagesoundandsoul.com. And I think that's all I have to say today. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good day.